Welcome to Talking Mopars, episode number 84, and another installment of Direct Connections Live. This time around, I had my friend Jovita on the show. Jovita is the president of the Canadian Mopar Club. She's a diehard Mopar enthusiast, and she has an epic collection of die-cast cars. We had a great time talking Mopars, and this is the show. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth. And I'm your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars, Direct Connections, live.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
Jovita, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. We just fired off the show, and we are live right now. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guest, SRT Jovita. Jovita is the president of the Canadian Mopar Club, a huge club in Canada. It's got to be crazy being the president. We're going to get into all that stuff right here, right now on Direct Connections. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned to the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth. And I am your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter. This is my guest, Jovita, and this is Talking Mopars Direct Connections Live. Jovita, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. You're the first woman on Talking Mopars, and I'm happy to finally get some diversity around here. I've got a bunch
awesome.
a bunch of grizzled guys come on here, a bunch of greasy fingernail dudes, and it's nice to bring a different perspective onto the show to talk Mopars. So,
thank you.
For the people, my audience, a lot of us are into the classic stuff and the old ratty muscle cars. And it seems like you are more involved in the modern Mopar scene. So for those of you guys out there that don't know about the Canadian Mopar Club, Jovita's going to tell us all about it. But Jovita, why don't you tell us who you are and what you're about?
Okay, first of all, I have to apologize for my camera not being set up quite well, but you guys can kind of see me, so I can't really see much because it's really tiny. But anyways, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
As you know, my name is Jovita, or SRT Jovita, as you guys know me on Instagram. And you want me to tell them a little bit about myself, I guess?
Yeah, sure. I guess it's always interesting to me when I meet females, and I don't want to sound sexist, but it's really hard to come across females that are just diehard enthusiasts. And I love talking to them because, like I said, it brings a totally different perspective to the car scene. So I'm curious when you realized that you were a car enthusiast.
I think I always was. Growing up, my dad was heavily into cars, just kind of like tinkering around with cars. My grandfather that lived with us for a long time, he was a mechanic for Sears Canada. So yeah, there was always cars in our life, and we're always kind of doing stuff and going to car shows and going to like the flea markets and picking car parts and that sort of thing. So it was always kind of part of my life. But I didn't really get heavily into it until probably the last 10 years, I'm going to say.
Really?
So yeah, for sure.
Did you start off as a Mopar enthusiast, or is that something that kind of developed and evolved as you got into cars?
I think it evolved into being full Mopar, and it obviously took a while to get my blood to turn blue. So
I like it.
But yeah, it definitely evolved and morphed, I'm going to say too, because I was always into cars, going to the different car shows. And then, I mean, I think everybody has their niche that they get into. But this just turned into like a full-blown obsession, as you can tell behind me here, right?
Yeah. I like your set. It puts mine to shame.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just become part of every aspect of my life. Like it's like my whole house. It's what I do on the weekends. It's my hobby. It's also my work. So it's just, it's a full-time love affair, really.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And that's actually people. That is Jovita's house. Okay. So
Yeah.
uh,
This is
people,
actually my dining room.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
That's,
Thanks.
I mean, if I was a bachelor, I would have you come interior decorate my house.
Oh, awesome.
No, that's a crazy collection.
Oh, thank you.
Was your first car a Mopar, or what was your first car?
Actually, no, it wasn't. My first
Okay.
car was, okay, wait for it, a Toyota Echo. And I actually kept that thing for 12 years, believe it or
Oh
not.
wow, that's a
I
long
had to,
time.
yeah, I had to use like 2 D-cell batteries to like jump it every now and then, but
So when you had the Echo, were you dreaming of a Mopar, or was that something that just came later?
No, yeah, I was dreaming about Mopars.
Yeah.
Instead of counting sheep, that's what I was counting, like deboning Mopars. But
That's funny.
but
Oh,
yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And I mean, everybody's got to pay their dues, driving their Honda Civics or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with those
guilty.
cars. It's just you got to start somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So that was kind of my starter car, and got into a couple accidents, and got that all out of my system.
Good.
And then my first Mopar was V6 2006 Charger. So
Okay.
like that first gen of the modern gens,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where it all started for me, and it just blew up from
Let
there.
me let me, let me ask you this. So you get
Sure.
this SXT Charger,
Right.
and it's a V6. Do
Yeah.
you regret it immediately? Like, oh, I wish I would have gotten the V8. How did this evolve? I want to know. I want to know the story of how you got into the
Okay.
crazy cars.
So when I got that first one,
Hmm.
I didn't regret it right away. I actually loved it. I loved the body style of it. I loved the aggressive look.
Yeah.
And that those first gen modern ones were kind of muscular looking and everything, and I loved
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
And I kept it for a couple of years, and then for a weekend car, I had an RT Challenger, so I had both of them at the same time. So I kind
Okay.
of had the best of both worlds, right? I did have a
Ah,
V8, and then I had the V6, and then I ended up trading. Well, I was trading one and selling the RT, and then I got the 2014 black Charger, and that's when I started modding the car, and that's
okay.
kind of where CMC came about.
Okay. So
So I started. Yeah, go on.
I was wondering, so you get this car. How deep are you in the scene when you have these cars? Are you going to local events and stuff, or is this just kind
Uh,
of a buildup?
yeah, so when I got the first 2 cars, that's when I started going to car shows only, no
Okay.
car meets. So
Hmm.
just car shows, and seeing what everybody had, and started talking to people, and I started meeting people, and they're telling me about these different clubs. And there's a
Hmm.
couple clubs back then where you had to have a certain amount of mods, to be in the club. So I started,
Sure.
seeing what people were doing, and then I started looking online and seeing all these different forums on Facebook and
Hmm.
all the ideas I was getting. So I thought it was great. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, this is wild, right? So then CMC was born, because
Okay.
I went to my first car meet, and it was uh, like a different Mopar group. And they didn't really do too much, and there wasn't a lot of meets. And I thought, how can I change this? How can I create something that has an online forum and a place where everybody can meet locally,
Hmm.
and as well as like all across Canada? So that's when CMC was born. So it was about 6 years ago now, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, about 6 years ago. And that's when I had the black V6 Charger.
Okay.
And then so I started CMC, and yeah, that's the car that kind of started it all. When I actually ended up trading that one in for the Super B that you see now, I
Yeah.
actually brought the club with me to the dealership, and we have both cars side by side, the Super B and the V6 Charger, and we did this whole like farewell send off and cruise.
Cool.
leaving the dealership. It was pretty neat, actually. So, because that
That
car had a lot of meaning to me. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, you're president of, Canadian Mopar Club. You have so many members and you're driving a V6. And I'm like, you know what? Don't knock the V6 because that car started this club
yeah,
and it started a movement, really, I think.
sure.
Um, and I think the club changed a lot of people's lives and gave people something to look forward to every week because we did weekly meets for
Okay.
years, every
Wow.
Friday. So, I mean,
That's
it
cool.
was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun too. So,
I want to rewind a little bit back to
okay.
right when you got rid of that Echo and you got into the Charger.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of car friends while you had the Echo and like your transition into the Charger, or was that something that came
What
about
are you
because of the Charger?
Chris, what are you trying to say? Are
I'm
you
just
trying to say that?
you know, I haven't heard of any Toyota Echo clubs, so I'm just wondering how that
You
worked
know
out.
what? There's probably in there. No, yeah, no, I was not in the car scene at that time.
Okay.
I actually had so that joke I said about jump starting the car with two D cell
Yeah.
batteries. A guy actually said that to me as he was making fun of me for the car I was driving. So I just started
Uh,
running with it and using that joke to
no,
tell
that's
people
funny.
about it.
I like that.
But
You kind of glossed over the fact that you also had a Challenger. So
yeah, I did.
how
I
did
did.
that come about? You got a Charger
Um,
and then you went and got a Challenger. I'm trying to figure out
yeah,
how this
yeah. It
worked out.
was it was it was kind of like the weekend warrior.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of what I was driving on the weekends and
Mhm.
like on Fridays to work just to be cool. And but yeah, those cars, I don't know how many years I actually had them for now that I think about it. Probably like oh yeah, I guess that was kind of a long time if you think about it. Probably like 4 or 5 years for both of those cars.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I traded up to the 2014
S-
because I didn't buy them brand new. So
Okay.
yeah.
So if I have this timeline right, you didn't start the club until you had the 2014, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Was that something that just I mean, how do you go about getting a bunch of people together and say, "Hey, I'm starting this club." I'm curious how that worked out.
So so like I said, I went to that first meet
Mhm.
and I saw kind of what was going on and I was like, okay, this is cool, but I want to start something where we do a lot more different things. We do cool things. We do events. I don't know. I just wanted to bring people together. That was like my whole thing was bringing people together. And I wanted to meet more people in the
Yeah.
car scene and more Mopar people, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I started an online um, club.
Okay.
Actually, I had met somebody online and they had kind of like given me this page that they had started. It was a
Mhm.
charger page. And he said, I'm selling my charger. I'm starting a RAM page. Here you go. Take over this page. I can't remember how many people in there, like 100 or something like that.
Okay.
And he goes, take this over and, I'll make you the admin, whatever. This is your page. So that's when I changed it to the CMC and it's become what it has today. So it's,
Wow.
yeah, that's kind of like how it started. And we did like our first meet, we did it at like a Krispy Kreme and we had like, I think it was like 40 cars show up and
Oh, wow.
it was great. So it just kind of flew. And then, like I said, we did for years and years straight. We did every Friday, even through winter. Even if
Nice.
we had like, 3 or 4 people show up in the wintertime, and they weren't even Mopars because not everybody has, winter Mopars like we
Oh,
do
okay.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? So it was great though, like, because I was kind of like, I would accept anybody that had a Mopar. Like it didn't
Mhm.
matter what your car was or what your vehicle was. As long as it was a Mopar, you had um, the interest in it and you wanted to learn about it and whatever. And yeah, so I'd let pretty much anybody in the club as long as you were respectful and you genuinely had a love for Mopar and you wanted to learn and see other people's cars and get ideas. So I think that's why the club has done so well because it's kind of all inclusive. And then once all the meets and stuff started up, I started to do special events too.
Okay.
So I thought that kind of took it a step ahead from some of the other clubs. So yeah.
How many members do you have?
Just under 2,000, I believe.
Oh wow.
Or I might have crested 2,000 now. Actually, I haven't checked in a while. And
Wow.
that's all across Canada. And we do have a few people that are from the US and other places as well.
I know I'm in the group and I feel weird chiming in every once in a while. I'm like, gosh, I'm the guy in the USA, like creeping up like, hey guys.
Oh no, we have people all over because we're so close to Washington, right? So we
Yeah.
actually had so there's a group in Washington that we had planned on doing some meets with and cruises, but it
Okay.
just didn't work out due to COVID and that. So that is something that we're planning on doing once everything sort of settles down.
And you're open to all Mopars from all years and stuff, or is it only the modern stuff?
No, no, everything. So
See,
we
I
have
like that.
like old school Mopars. We even have well, we don't have any Fiats, I don't think, but we have yeah, pretty much everything, honestly.
That's cool. You also work at a Chrysler dealership, right?
Yeah, I do. You know, a lot of people don't know that, or they do know
Yeah.
it, and they think I'm a salesperson. So I'm actually not a salesperson. I work in accounting.
You would make a great salesperson. I I don't know.
Oh, thank you.
I thought you were in sales, and I know we've talked previously, and you said you were in
Yeah.
accounting, and I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But that's how long have you been working at Chrysler?
I'm gonna say just over a year, not too
Oh,
long.
okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I've been an accountant for the last, I don't know, 15 years or so.
oh wow.
And so I got laid off about a year and a half ago. And it was like before Christmas time, and
Oh
I was kind
gosh.
of looking for a job, and I
Hmm.
was a controller. I was actually a controller at the time, so I was looking for a job, and it was really hard after Christmas. And so this job at the Chrysler dealer showed up, and it was like New Year's, and it wasn't the caliber of the position that I wanted, but I thought, you know what, let's just give it a shot. And so I did, and it was like like a lower level accounting job.
Hmm.
And then COVID hit, and then I got laid off for 4 months, and then I started up again. But honestly, I love it. Like I don't have tons of responsibility and stress, but I get to drive the cars. And if you follow me on Instagram, you get to see what I'm driving every day, and I
Oh
kind of
yeah,
show people. And it's not always glamorous. I've got like like caravans or like Honda Civics or
that's
whatever,
funny.
right? Nissan Altimas and stuff. But it's kind of neat because I get to drive other cars too, and not just Mopar. And you can, like, even I had a Tesla a couple of times, so you get to compare the different brands and see the differences, right?
Hey, let's talk about that Tesla for 3 seconds. How fast are those things really?
Well, I didn't take it up to top speed or anything,
Okay,
but
okay, okay.
I'm gonna say the weirdest thing is everything about like fuel injected gas vehicles, like just
Mhm.
throw it out the window because it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Like acceleration, like everything's just weird. You let go of the gas pedal and it just stops. It's like, is that supposed to happen? It's just super weird. It's like so much getting used to. Like even the door handle, like to get in and get out, it's just not what you think. Like I almost got locked in there because I was trying to look for the handle. I'm like, where is the hat? How do I get out of here?
That's funny. Yeah, I see on your Instagram. It's funny you brought it up because I was going to ask you. You're always in something new, and I assumed that it was just demos from the dealership. Um, but it kind of
No,
gets
it's
me.
actually,
Go
no,
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's actually the cars that we're selling. So it's like, I mean, they pretty much give me whatever has gas in it, and then I go and like run my errands for the day and then come back.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why they're always so random. Sometimes I have like brand new
Oh,
vehicles.
yeah.
Sometimes I have like used ones, and so yeah, it really depends.
That's really cool. Yeah, I wish I could drive cool stuff all the time like that. That's cool. Are they pretty open minded? If you're like, oh, can I do a demo video on this Hellcat over here? Are they pretty cool about that kind of stuff or what?
Actually, I do videos with other dealerships as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, that's how it kind of started. I started off doing some YouTube videos for another dealership. And then so I don't do all my personal stuff at the dealership I work at. I
Okay.
kind of move around and do stuff elsewhere, but we always have cool vehicles. As you guys probably seen, there's always Vipers or Viper trucks or
Hmm. Yeah.
there's always cool stuff on the lot. So So
That
yeah.
that's cool. What's the
Lots like
coolest? What's the coolest car you've gotten to take out from your dealership?
that. Probably that F8 Hellcat Charger.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
one.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was nice. Does your dealership like, hey, you can't be going over to those other places. You know, you work here. Do they ever give you any crap about that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
they do. They do. They do because when I started the club, one of the really cool things that I did was we got a partnership with a local dealership.
Hmm.
So they gave us like special pricing and discount on parts and service, which I don't know of any other club that has that.
That's pretty
And it's
cool.
pretty good. It's a pretty good price for like new vehicles and stuff. So yeah, so I had started that, and then when I started the job, I was telling them, in my interview, like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've got this partnership with this dealership, and I help them order the cars and stuff because that's what I used to do for like I would help them order the cars, and they sold all the cars one spring, so they're like, oh yeah, like, we're gonna order cars again, like come help us do that, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I told this place that I was starting at, and they were just like, "Oh my God, no, that's gonna stop. You're not doing that anymore." I'm just like, "Okay."
oh, wow. Yeah, see, I would have called the other dealership and said, "Hey, do you need somebody to actually order
Yeah,
cars
I
full time?"
know. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. They had you ordering cars. Wow, that's
Well,
I
just
get.
like personally, like just it was. I didn't even work there. They were just like, "Oh yeah, like we're doing the orders. Like, come on by and tell us what color the cars need to be, or like what needs to be in it." And it was pretty neat. It was pretty fun to
Wow.
do. So
Wow. What kind of
yeah.
allocation does Canada get compared to the United States? Because I know I can pretty much order whatever I want here. Are you guys limited to what you can get up there? Because I mean, they're built in Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we are. And I think I mean I don't get to see a lot of that being on the accounting side, but
Sure.
the special vehicles, I don't think you can just order it. You have to have a certain amount of like there's like a quota, I want to say. Like you have to sell X amount of minivans or X amount of Rams before you're allowed to order like a
Sure.
TRX or a
Yeah.
super stock or something like that. You can't just place orders like that. So that was kind of interesting to me because if you see certain dealerships don't get everything, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. There's a dealership up here that I don't want to say their name because I don't want to give them any press because they're mean to me.
yeah.
uh,
Oh,
but
no.
they got a bunch of TRXs, and I'm like, how did these jerks get that? But
You know what? There's one dealership. I don't know. It's not in Washington. I don't know where it is. Somewhere in the middle of USA. They have like
mhm.
7,
Oh
and
wow.
I was like, how do they get 7? Like all our dealerships, we were lucky to get 1.
Wow. Do you
Yeah.
guys
So
in Canada, do you guys do the second sticker markup where the dealer gets the car and they have the MSRP and then you look at the other sticker and it's like $10,000 more?
it won't be a second sticker. It'll just be
No.
it'll just be the one. But yeah,
Wow.
I think so. I
Wow.
think so. I mean, that's the case with the TRX. Like
Sure.
there's the MSRP, and then
Hmm.
yeah, the dealer wants
Yeah.
a lot more because it's special, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's definitely the case.
Interesting.
It's
It's got to
different.
be crazy to work for something like a company that you're so passionate about, right? Is like, are you happy every day you go to work? You're like, yeah, I'm surrounded by Mopars every day. That's got to be cool, right?
I am. I am. It is really cool. And so the dealership that I work for is not part of a corporation. It's
Oh,
owned by one person.
okay.
So the owner and I get along really well, and he's got this, really big car collection. So he's taken me to his warehouse to see it. And I don't know if I've shown you some pictures of it, but oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
stuff that he's got in there is amazing. There's like special
Oh,
edition Vipers in there I didn't even know existed.
really?
It's
Wow.
just so cool. Yeah,
Wow.
it's really cool.
Sounds like a cool guy to know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Have you ever thought about getting into sales, or is that something you're like not feeling? I'm just curious.
You know what? I have thought about it. Um, but I just always thought it would be in poor taste because I am president of a Mopar club and I
Mhm.
have a lot of members locally, and I just didn't think I don't know, I just always thought it wouldn't look very good if I was trying to like make money off my members or and stuff like that.
Sure.
But what I do um is if somebody comes into my dealership, I'll help them. Like I
Yeah.
can help them look at the numbers. and I love talking to people, so I'm always
Yeah.
out talking to customers anyways. And for me, it's not about the money. It never has been, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, I just do it for fun anyway. And
I've probably got better deals, or I probably paid more for cars than I should have, just because I liked the person. I was like, I like
yeah,
your personality. I'll pay a little bit more from you than I would from that jerk over there. So I
yeah.
don't know. Uh, I
And you know what? I laugh at some of the salesmen. I'm not saying of the place that I work at, but just in general, because a lot of them don't know about the cars, like even cars in
yeah,
general. They're just
yeah,
like they're literally a true salesperson.
yeah. It's just a job.
So yeah, yeah. I kind of tease some of the sales guys. I'll be like, "What does SRT stand for?" And they're like,
Oh man, that
I do that all the time, and they're like,
see, no, I think that's powerful. If I was the sales manager, I'd have to pull you aside and be like, look, I see that you're passionate about these cars, more passionate than any of these jokers. We need to get you out on that floor, because I think passion sells cars. You know what I mean? As
Yeah,
long as you don't push
yeah,
it too hard. If a family comes in looking at a Grand Caravan, like, I think this Charger over here, this SRT fits you a little bit better. Come on over here and look at this one.
yeah.
That's cool. So tell me about this Super Bee. I didn't realize, I mean, I've seen them obviously, but I didn't realize that you have a very special edition. Tell me a little bit about that. First of all, tell me how you found out that car was, I mean, that's obviously a special allocation to the dealer that you bought it from. So I'm curious, tell me from the beginning how you found out that car was coming. Was that the one you wanted? Like, tell me the story behind the Charger Super Bee.
Okay, so the previous Charger that I had came from the same dealer.
Okay.
So it started off by just being an ad online. So I looked at the ad and they didn't have, so the description didn't match the picture of the car. So that was the first thing. So it said it was an SRT Super Bee 2014. And the picture was just of an SRT.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you can tell by the hood
Yeah.
and whatever, right? So I was like, okay, so that was my first thing. So I called up and I talked to them about it, and I told them, I was like, I'm just letting you know, like, because I'm like, okay, I realize that you guys don't have the vehicle yet, because this vehicle is coming from like 4 or 5 hours away. So they said, yeah, we don't have it yet. This is the picture that we put up there, and it's pretty much what it looks like. And I'm like, well, no, that's not right. And he's like, oh, okay. And so that was the first, I already rubbed the sales guy the wrong way because I told him I put the wrong picture up. So he's like, okay, well, he kind of gave me the gist of it. It had, I think when I was buying it, it had 15,000 kilometers on it.
Oh, wow.
So it's still like,
Brand new.
yeah, pretty much. And it was white, right? So
Yeah.
I already knew the color of it. So I knew that this thing was going to be special. I just had a feeling about it. Didn't know what it looked like. Didn't really know the story of it. Just knew this thing was coming, and I had to see it. I had to have it. So I actually ended up putting a deposit on it, sight unseen.
Nice.
Right? So, because I didn't want anyone else to see it. I didn't want anyone else to drive it. I didn't want anyone else to touch it. So then I found out they actually drove it. So I wasn't like super happy about that, because I thought it was going to be like flatbedded or something, right? So they had a
Yeah.
driver drive it like 5 hours. And then it got there and it was like a Saturday. So I called the sales guy and I was like, okay, the car is there. I'm going to go see it on Saturday when you guys get it. And he's like, well, listen, I'm not going to be working on Saturday. Can you come in on, I think it was Sunday. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting. I want to see this car. Like, if I like it, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I'm not going to be there, so you can't see it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you're going to lose out on the sale then, because I'm going. So I went there on Saturday. He didn't show up. Someone else showed me the car. As soon as I saw it, this thing was mint. Perfect leather, like the steering wheel was perfect. Everything. Like, it was just completely stock, brand new. And I had looked it up after I saw it, because it didn't look the same as the regular Super Bees. Like, everything was different. And I don't know, do you know, or anybody watching, if you know the history of the Super Bee, this is the way I like to explain it. I don't know if it's exactly right, but so the Super Bee was offered as like a cheaper version of the SRT.
Okay.
So if you wanted the 6.4 392 engine, but you didn't want to pay for all the extras that the SRT came with, you would get the Super B, right? So it was the cheaper option. So what they did was they stripped out like the leather, the suspension, the active cruise control, the wheels, the bigger screen, and a few of the SRT pages. That's what you wouldn't get with the Super B. So it was also a different hood, right? Different hood. So this SRT that I had was white, Super B, right? It had the SRT wheels with the satin vapor. It didn't have the suspension, but it had full leather. It had the 8.4 screen, and it had the SRT pages. I was just looking at this thing, going like, I don't think the dealer would have added all these things back. So after looking into it, we found out that it was a satin vapor edition, and I knew like right away, like these guys don't know what they have with this car. And I didn't know it was one of 10 until after I had bought the car. So I did buy it the same day. I actually ended up taking, because I traded in the black one, ended up taking both cars home. They let me take my old car home and strip it back and put it back to stock and then bring it back to them. It was crazy. I didn't even give them any money. Put the deposit down and everything. And they said, yep, take your car back, put it back to stock and bring it back. And then that's when I did the cruise, when I had to give it back. But yeah, then I ended up finding out that it was one of 10
really
globally. Yeah. So there was only 10 cars ordered in the same configuration as this. So the white Super B with the satin vapor package added to it in the world.
Wow.
I think there was only 9. I think it was like 9 in Canada, 1 in the US, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really cool. But I mean, as soon as you see it, you just know it's something different, because you usually see the other colors.
Sure.
So there is other satin vapor editions as well. There's the red and the granite and the white one.
Wow, I mean, I don't have 1 of 10 anything. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what? And it was kind of a fluke, because I didn't know either. I mean, I knew there's something special about it. It was like, they say like the car picks you or whatever, but I really think in this case it was like meant for me. So
yeah, that's cool. I mean, that had to have been a pleasant surprise. Like 1 in 10. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't think it makes it any more valuable, because it's not a numbered car. But I mean, in my eyes, it's priceless. So
you always have a leg up when you go, okay, go find another one.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's true.
Oh, that's cool.
And you know what? Through doing the videos on YouTube, I've actually met a few other owners of them.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat.
Right on. So you're the president of the Canadian Mopar Club, 2,000 members. Do you have a vice president? Do you have like a treasurer? How does this work? Or are you the kingpin and it's just Jovita at the top of the mountain?
Yeah, it's just me. I do have admins on the page, on the Facebook page. And that's kind of like where we started on Facebook. But other than that, it's pretty much me. When we are doing meets, I do get the admins to help out, like give me ideas or to like hold a meet if I'm not able to do it. But for the most part, I do pretty much everything, like the merch. We've slowed down on that because I don't really push it. I never have, even the stickers and stuff. There's no like prerequisites. You don't have to have a sticker on your car. You don't have to buy a t-shirt.
Really?
Yeah. And then all the special events and like planning, that's all. Yeah, I do it all by myself. So wow. it is a lot of work, especially when we were doing it weekly and we were doing like special events on the weekends. It took up a lot of my time for sure.
Yeah, that's pure passion. I mean, if you're not pushing merch, then that tells me that you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the passion. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, no, I never have because I that was the one thing that I didn't like when I first got into the scene. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, you got to buy a sticker or you got to like send us $20 and you get this like number for your car or whatever. I also have like, well, it's not a rule, it's like a non-rule, I guess, but you can be in as many clubs as you want. You don't have to just be in my club, and you can't be in other ones. And
Wow.
I'm really supportive of other Mopar groups in the area as well. Like there's other ones that start up all the time, and they're like, oh, like I don't want to step on any toes. And I'm like, you know what? If you need any help, like just send me a message. Like I'm pretty easygoing. Like I'm not gonna shut you down or anything. Like it's all good, right? Because we're all part of the same community, and we're all trying to do the same thing, right? So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
really cool. So you were talking earlier about maybe doing some collaborative stuff with people in Washington, clubs in Washington. So do you come down to Washington? Like obviously when the borders open, do you guys make your way down here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, as a club, we haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
But I'm always in Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was like every weekend.
Oh, geez.
As you can see, I have a die-cast addiction as well, and that's where I get a lot of my stuff. So
I was
yeah.
I had a couple questions about that. I noticed that you do the diecast stuff, and it seems like you buy them in lots. Like for those of you that don't know, Jovita is like the queen of diecast. She's got so many diecast cars. Like this little shelf back here, that's all I got. I mean, I got some in my closet because I don't have any room, and I've been
Yeah.
sitting here staring at your room, and I'm just like, God, that's cool. I'm super jealous. So
Actually,
do you?
I put this one up here on my table here to
Yeah,
show you.
nice. I love an
Thought
A100.
you'd like
Sweet.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, nice. Well, okay, let's start from the beginning with diecast. We can go
Okay.
so many directions. I do want to get back to the club, but
Yep.
when did your passion for diecast get sparked? This is really curious to me because my wife will go to like Target and stores, and she'll come home with like three because she goes to those aisles now because she knows that I like to go to them, so she'll bring me home
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and she'll be like, "Do
Yeah.
you have this one yet?" And I'm like, "No, I don't actually. Good job."
Oh,
So
that's nice.
I love that. But it's blowing my mind that you're so involved in diecast, and some of the pictures that you posted. I'm like, should she buy like lots, like pallets of these things, or what?
Um. Okay, so everybody starts off with Hot Wheels, I think. Ever
Yeah,
since you were a kid.
sure.
I don't have any of the Hot Wheels I had as a kid, and I don't even remember being heavy into it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then I started once I got back into the Mopar, like when I got into Mopar, I
Mhm.
started buying the Hot Wheels just slowly, like here and there, and then I started buying the M2 machines and different brands. But nothing like the scale I have now. It was all just like very small.
Yeah.
And then I started, buying a little bit more and buying a little bit more and collecting, and then started collecting like all the signs and other memorabilia, like Mopar memorabilia as well.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit,
Mm.
and I needed to strategize and think of how I can make some extra money and and grow my collection at the same time. So I did buy a bunch of big lots. Like at one point I had just over 10,000 Hot Wheels in my garage.
Okay.
and I literally did garage sales and sold some of them and sold to different collectors, and I kept all the ones I wanted. So when I buy like bigger lots, I get to keep the ones that I want
Yeah.
and grow my own collection and then pay for my collection, right? And then I became a distributor for one of the brands, and I started bringing them in. And then I was actually like competing with Walmart because I would bring them in and like sell them for like good prices so I could help people build their collection. So it was like it was really cool. And that's kind of what I started doing. And then the borders got closed and I wasn't able to go across anymore. But being in the diecast world and meeting people online and even in person, it's this whole new world that I never knew existed, and it's so cool because I've got friends all over, and like they'll send me stuff and I'll send them stuff if I see something. Like it's really cool. And there's like dioramas, and there's just so many things that
it is
Mopar
cool.
has brought me.
Yeah, it's I don't know how you find time because I loved going to like Hobby Lobby or any of those
Oh, I
craft
love
stores with my
Hobby
wife.
Lobby.
I can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
uh,
But like
I
just the die-cast part of it, like the
yeah,
rest
yeah,
of it is,
yeah.
yeah.
I always beeline it for the metal signs, and then I go to the models
Yeah,
and
for
check out the
sure.
M2 machines because
For
that's
sure.
it seems like that's where I found all the good M2 machines because those are my favorite. And
Yeah.
I got I started collecting them, and I had this wild inkling that I wanted to do dioramas, right? And I was like, oh,
Okay,
that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
cool because I'm a I like finding old cars and stuff. So I was like,
Hmm.
I want to do one. I want to do like a ratty old Daytona, And so I went to Hobby Lobby, got the car, got all the little stuff, and I created.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still
yeah,
have it.
yeah.
It's the only one
Yeah.
I've ever done because it took so much time,
Right.
and I don't have time for it. So I'm amazed that you have time to play with them. But I made this. So I stripped it. Oh, you can't really. Oh yeah, you can. I
Oh yeah,
stripped
yeah,
I
yeah.
stripped it down
Okay,
and put it
cool.
like in like a little sand thing, so it looks like
Yeah,
it's in the
yeah, yeah.
desert, and
Yeah.
just made it look like a total piece of crap. And uh,
I
I
have a diorama like that. Actually, it's like
yeah
right behind you. You probably can't see it, but I can show it to you later. But
yeah
yeah,
sure
it's really
yeah it's fun, and I wish I would have gotten into it when I was younger because I think of all the cool stuff I could have made, but
yeah,
I just getting into the details and stuff because I don't want to throw something together that I'm not proud to show off. So I'm like, oh
yeah,
gosh, I just
yeah,
don't have time. So now I throw them
yeah,
on this little shelf and I have to cycle them out because I just don't have any room. So
yeah. I know.
I'm jealous of all
Tell
your
me about
shelves. Yeah, um,
it.
yeah, your collection
Yeah,
is just amazing.
it's
That's cool.
but like I said, like cars are my whole life. Like
Yeah.
my living room is full of stuff. I have a hood in my living room. I have my four wheels and tires as my coffee tables, and like this is my dining room. So it's everywhere. Even my
Oh,
bedroom, like my bedside tables are like movie themes and each side, and it's like die-cast cars or whatever. So yeah, I have a lot of different things that I collect, but it's mostly all based around Mopar or die-cast. So
I did notice that you had another slight collection or obsession, whatever you like to call it, of Back to the Future stuff.
yeah, and Jurassic Park, those
Oh, in
two.
Jurassic Park. Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Because
yeah,
I saw the skull.
yeah.
The skull. That thing is
Yeah.
badass. I like
Oh,
that.
thank you.
That's cool. Yeah. That's gosh. It's funny that you're on the show today and you're a fan of Back to the Future because today I was
Yeah,
driving. I was driving at work and I was training a guy, and
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have these up where you're at, but in these neighborhoods that I drive through, they have these little. They're almost like I guess they're kind of like mailboxes, but they're wooden and they have little doors and they're called public libraries where people just go and they
Oh,
trade
yeah,
books
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Yep.
We were stopped in front of a house because I'm a garbage man by trade, and
Hmm.
I don't work at a cool Mopar dealership like Jovita. But I looked over and I don't know why, but I always look into them. And
Hmm.
today I
Hmm.
saw one and the book said DeLorean, and I was like,
Oh, no
interesting.
way.
And I've always been interested in the story of John
Yeah.
DeLorean, and I want to get into it a little bit more. And I was like,
Hmm.
hold on, dude, stop the truck. So I got out and I pulled the book, and it was his like autobiography. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, cool.
cool.
Yeah. So it's
Cool.
crazy coincidence that you just happen to be a fan of Back to the Future. Do you like DeLoreans?
Yeah, I do. I think they're
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you don't see a lot of them. There's actually a guy locally here that's starting his own museum, and he's got a couple DeLoreans in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat.
I haven't told anybody this, but I every once in a while when I have time, which I really don't, I dabble in Photoshop. And
Okay.
I really got into composites, and I was to promote my podcast. I'm going to sound like an uber dork right now, but I was going to do this. I was going to recreate the Back to the Future movie poster, right, with the font and everything. It was going to say
Oh yeah,
"Talking
yeah, yeah,
Mopars."
yeah.
It was going to say "Talking
Heroes and stuff.
Mopars,"
Oh, I like that.
and I went on Amazon and I found the knockoff the Nike Air Mags. I found the Back to the Future 2
The vest,
jacket.
the
Yeah,
bun. Oh, no way.
I found it all, and I was gonna I was gonna see if somebody somewhere, or I would probably have to crop it out, but I
Yeah.
wanted to turn a wing car into a time machine. So basically, like just swap out the DeLorean
Oh,
for a wing
yeah, for like
car,
a super
and then
bird.
Marty McFly, I would be the fatter version of Marty McFly,
Oh.
and I was gonna do this composite, and it was gonna be badass. I just haven't had
Oh, no
time. It's
way.
still
I
in my
have a
head.
hoverboard you could borrow too.
Hey, don't threaten me with a good time. um, that's that's cool. I like. I've always been a fan of Back to the Future and the DeLorean.
Yeah, it's such a great movie.
It is, and
Love it.
I was talking to my trainee, and he's got a couple young kids, like preteen, and
Mhm.
his son was like, "Dad, can we watch Back to the Future?" And his son had never seen Back to the Future, and the guy was like, "I was so excited because there's so many '80s movies that I could show my kid."
Oh yeah,
I was
and
like, "Oh,
I love seeing people's reactions when they see like movies like that, especially kids are just like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah." I the dork in me wants to see a Hemi swapped DeLorean. I don't know how anybody would pull that
Oh
off, but
man.
I'd lose my mind if I saw a Hemi
Yeah,
swapped DeLorean.
that'd be pretty
Right?
rad. That would
Yeah,
be pretty
yeah.
rad.
Total blasphemy, but it would still be rad. I
Yeah.
wouldn't complain about that at all. How many die cast cars do you have? Do you even have count?
I don't have a count, no.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know. I want to say more than 1,000, and I feel
Okay.
like it's probably way more, but I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. I actually even have like boxes of cars too
Oh
that
wow.
I don't have on display. So yeah, I
uh,
have a lot.
See, I can't
I
judge
try
people for
not to
their
count.
obsessions. I can't judge people for their obsessions because for a long time, and I still kind of have it.
Hmm.
Old car magazines, old hot rods and stuff. I love to
Yeah,
go through them, and I always
yeah.
butcher them, and I take all the cool car ads. I have nothing but vintage car ads above me right now, and
Hmm.
it's just super cool. So I can't sit here and go, "Gosh, you're crazy!" All those, all the diecast cars, because everybody
You
has their
know,
little thing.
yeah, for sure. But it's also a great investment because
Mm.
I mean, like Hot Wheels are going up in value like every day. Like not all of them, but I mean, if you were around in the 60s and you got to get the first ones that came out, like the Red Line,
Oh yeah,
um, those are worth like I don't know, like $500 each car. Some of them, like it's crazy, it's unbelievable. And even some of the new stuff that comes out, depending on what people are into at the time, like square bodies are really big right now.
yeah, yeah.
Um, it's just amazing. And then they have like special edition cars as well, and yeah, it's really cool.
Let's
Like
get into hold on a second. Let's get into this real quick
yeah.
because I've always wanted to know the answer to this, and I have an expert now on the show. Okay,
Oh no.
explain to
Yeah.
me. I always see, um, because seeing all your posts, and I have a little collection. I'm always looking, and now Facebook, like their algorithm, like knows what I like. So now in Marketplace, I just get
Yeah.
ads for Hot Wheels and diecast stuff, and I
Yeah.
always see the terms chase and treasure hunt. Please explain those terms to me.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so let's see if I have it. Do I have one of them out here? Probably not. But okay, so a chase is a special car that they put in the set that's
Okay.
worth more. It's like special. So it'll be like, so let's say the regular production of the regular vehicles, or say they make like 10,000, the
Hmm.
chase will be like one of 500 or one of 750.
Okay.
And then they have like a super chase as well sometimes, and it'll be like a raw version of the car. So it'll be unpainted raw metal
Ah,
with the tampos or whatever designs on them.
yeah.
And that'll be like one of 250. And that's for like M2 machines.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I
So
have a
those
I have a couple
are
M2
worth,
machines that are pretty crazy. So I was wondering.
yeah, those are worth, some of them are worth a lot of money, depending on
Really?
what they are. Yep. And then with the Hot Wheels, and I can't, it's almost like I don't want to give the secrets out, but with the Hot Wheels, in every case, well, not every case, but in every release, I should say,
Okay.
they have a couple of special cars. So they'll have treasure hunts,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll have super treasure hunts.
Does this
So
say
the
it on the
super,
package, or how do you know?
no,
How
no,
do you
no,
know
no.
what the?
You gotta have the eye. You gotta be a
Oh,
hunter.
okay.
So you know how you're the Mopar hunter?
Yeah.
There's like Hot Wheels hunters, I kid you not, that will
Nice.
fight you in the aisle
Wow.
as you're looking for these cars. So, yeah, people, I mean, so you go to Walmart and you buy like $1 Hot Wheel or $2 Hot Wheel.
Hmm.
Some of them, if you could find that special one, could be worth like, 60 to 100 to $200 just for that one car, if you can
Okay.
find it.
Okay, that makes sense because
but it's really hard to find.
I go to the dollar bins looking for the Mopars. But I see
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
I see people every once in a while feverishly digging like to the
yeah.
bottom of these things, and I'm like, okay, that must be
That's what
like
they're
the
looking
treasure
for.
hunter or
Yeah,
whatever. But I just don't know. I
that's
just
right.
didn't know. I
Yeah, no,
did.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I kind of with the M2 machines, I knew that Chase meant something special, and I actually have I believe it was a Chase. It's like a semi truck, and it says Scat Packs Unite or something like that. It's got gold wheels,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. Okay,
I
so the gold, that's how you tell.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that's like your
okay,
first indicator is the gold. So
okay,
the
yeah,
M2 Machines does the gold,
okay.
and then Hot Wheels does for their super treasure hunts, they use Spectra Flame paint.
What's that?
So it's just like shinier and a little bit more metallic. But
Okay.
sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference between that one and the regular ones. And they'll have a tiny little symbol on it too. So
Really?
you have to find that. And they have rubber wheels where
Okay.
all the rest of them will have plastic wheels, but
Oh, they
that's
have the
like not,
real riders,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah, yeah,
yeah. See,
yeah,
I know a
yeah,
little. I
yeah.
know a little.
But it's hard to tell though. It's like so hard.
Okay.
So yeah. And then I don't know if you know Greenlight collectibles. So
Yeah.
Greenlight will do green wheels or green body car.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that's their thing. So every brand has their own thing. Johnny Lightning has white lightnings. So they'll have white wheels or a white base or something white, and that's their thing. And then like Auto World will have I think they're called lightning strikes. So yeah, they have like that'll be like red. So yeah, it's hard to
Wow.
tell sometimes, like super hard to tell. M2
Interesting.
Machines has a little sticker on it though, and it'll say like one of 250 or one
Yeah.
of 750 or
Yeah.
yeah.
I've seen those. What's your favorite brand of diecast?
I'm gonna say M2 Machines, I think.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah,
like
that's
those.
probably my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. Um, Gosh, that's crazy. I had a list of questions, just because there was so much I wanted to dig into because
Yeah,
you work at the dealership, you know, how
yeah,
you got into Mopars, the diecast stuff, the
yeah.
club. Um, let's get into some more of your collection because you don't just have the Super B, correct?
Yes. That's right. I
O-
have a couple more.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where we can start in this. I'm trying to figure out when your collection grew and how big it's gotten. Is it still that big? Where are you at with your collection? You collect everything. So let's talk about
Um,
your full scale cars.
okay. Okay, so after the Super B,
Mhm.
the SRT4 addiction started.
Okay. How did this start?
And how did it start? It was literally, I mean, I always thought SRT4 neons are really cool.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd never seen one like up close and actually driven one. I just
Hmm.
always thought they were kind of cool. And once you get into a brand, you start to see them everywhere. Have you noticed that? Like,
Oh yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
know, right?
Mhm.
And so the SRT4s I liked, I'd never seen them, but I always saw Chargers and Challengers everywhere. So one came up, and went to go see it. And I took a friend from the club, or a couple people, and we went to go look at it together, and ended up buying it. And it just kind of started from there. Started meeting other people with neons,
Mhm.
SRT4 neons, and talking to people and getting ideas and like where do you find parts for these things? Like how do you
Yeah.
fix things? What's the first mod that you should do? And I actually did a YouTube video on them, and yeah, the collection grew to I think five. I had five running, working SRT4s at one point, and it was just all about getting them back on the road, um, kind of like restoring them to their former glory, and then I ended up kind of sending out a whole bunch of them back into the world last summer after COVID hit, and
Uh,
had some tough times there. But right now, I have a stage one
okay.
SRT4, a red one, and that one was built solely in our home garage. Pretty
Okay.
much did all of the work ourselves. And that one I have, it still needs a little bit of work, like aesthetically. Um, but the newest project is an SRT4 ACR in Orange Blast. And so that's the newest thing. I'm hoping to put it together, a YouTube series documenting the progress of the build, so everybody can kind of see, this thing come back to life. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Don't just gloss over the ACR. I know that my audience, like a lot of us are like hardcore muscle car guys. I'm an equal. I like to say I'm an equal opportunity Mopar enthusiast. I love all Mopars. With the exception of PT Cruisers, there's some. Ever since my dad bought one, I just can't get into them. I can't. There's something about them. Ever since my dad got one, it just pissed me off. So
is it a PTGT? Like
no. It says limited edition, but I'm like, yeah, they don't want to make too many of these things because they're just.
Now, so hold on. Let me ask you a question. So, if you're not into the PTs, what do you think about the Prowlers? Are you the same? You feel the same about those?
No, here's what pisses me off about the PT Cruiser is that I feel like they were like, well, we can't keep building the Prowler, so let's just release this car that's kind of got the old school hot rod look to it. Now I say this, I've said this before on this podcast about the Prowler. I do like them. The problem with the Prowler is it came out ahead of its time. If it had come out right now with a 6.4 or a Hellcat engine, and they're like, here's the we'll call it the SRT Prowler, people would lose their minds. But you go back to when the Prowler came out, and it's got like the cheap, the mid 90s Chrysler interiors or the early 2000 Chrysler interiors, and it's just not what they're not.
Well, I think it was really interesting that it started off with Plymouth, and then Chrysler took it for like the last years. And then that was everyone's biggest thing, was it was screaming for a V8, and they didn't put one in. And then it also started off as like a project, like it was they called it an experiment. They said it was an experimental car for all aluminum body, and that was how they tested it, and then they put it to market.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see one, I go, God, they're cool, but I just cannot get the little, like the V6 and stuff, and they're cool cars. If someone gave me one or I got a killer deal on one, I'd cruise the hell out of it. You know what I mean? But there's just so much.
Definitely not designed to have a V8 in it, because like that front bumper and like the way the handling and stuff, like that's what they were saying too. But we have one in our showroom. Actually, I was thinking about doing a video on.
Really?
Because I mean, they are really cool. Yeah.
They are cool. I know that people are swapping Hemis in them. I gotta look a little bit more into that, because I know some.
Oh, really?
Some maniacs putting a Hellcat in one. I know that somebody did a 5.7 in another. So people are doing it. I just feel like, kudos to Mopar for doing it in the first place back then, but it was just so far ahead of its time. I wish it had come out now more advanced, but it just it had so much potential, but it was just the wrong time. But I do like them. I'm not going to sit here and hate on them. And I joke around with PT Cruisers a lot, because I've gotten a couple pieces of hate mail from people that have PT Cruisers. Like I just joke about it. I don't hate them. They're not my favorite car. And I think it's because my dad bought one, and he did it behind my back. And I don't like it when my dad buys cars, especially Mopars, behind my back. And I was like, Dad, what? And my dad, he's always been more of a performance guy, or at least that's what I thought. And then he gets the weakest PT Cruiser you could buy. And I'm like, you didn't get the turbo one? I think I told this story on the podcast. I came home because at the time I was living with my parents, and this was years ago, like 16 years ago or something like that. And I came home, and my dad was in the driveway, and he was shining the chrome wheels on this PT Cruiser. And I got out of my car, and I looked at him, and he had this smirk on his face, because he knew I was about to rib him for it. And I was like, hey, I said, that better not be your car. And he laughed, and I was like, oh God. But he still has it to this day. And he knows that it annoys me. So if I say, hey Dad, meet me at this car show, I'll be at this car show or something. He'll be like, he'll bring the PT Cruiser. So I'm like, you couldn't bring, because my dad, the first couple of Mopars that I fell in love with were an 85 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z and my dad's boogie van. So I do have a love for front wheel drive turbo Mopars. And that's where I was going to say earlier, It seems like the neon SRT4s got a lot of hate from the muscle car guys, and I never quite
Mhm.
understood why, because
Mhm.
I'm all
Mhm.
about the high performance heritage of Mopars, and they've always tried through every era. They've
Mhm.
always tried something, and
Mhm.
uh, I thought the SRT4s were awesome when they first came out. That was the front wheel drive turbo Mopars that we've been missing for so long, and now the new version of what they had as far as performance comes out,
It
and
was
it's
kind
this
of like,
crazy car.
yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know if it was like a cross between like the tuner scene and like the muscle car thing, because it was like it was Mopar, but it had the Mitsubishi turbo in it, and it appealed to that kind of group of people also. I don't know.
I absolutely think it had something to do with the tuner market because,
Yeah.
I mean, the early I turned 16 in 2001, and I was like right in the I enjoyed street racing just before Fast and the Furious came out, and then that ruined it for us. um
Mhm. I know.
but the SRT4 was cool because it was like, okay, they're at least acknowledging that there's a tuner market, and that
Mhm.
you know they didn't I mean, they come out with a 200 and 15 horsepower turbocharged, Dodge
230. Yeah.
230
Yeah.
uh
And at
Dodge
the
that
time, it was the fastest in the Dodge lineup aside from the Dodge Viper, and that is a piece of history, right? Like that's
yeah.
pretty amazing for that time period.
So I
I actually saw an ad the other day, an old ad for the Neon, and it was like under 22 and barely legal because it was like under $22,000, right? And
yeah.
it was like so fast, and the old commercials are hilarious. It's so funny.
Well,
But
it's
yeah,
like
it was an amazing car.
I remember when it came out, and back in the early 2000s, it was like turbos were really hitting hard, and everybody had to have a
Yeah.
front mount intercooler. And this
Hmm. Hmm.
factory Dodge comes out with a giant intercooler, and everybody's like,
Oh
"Oh,"
yeah.
but the tuners, it's like, "Oh, it's a Dodge." You know what I mean? So there was
Yeah,
like that
yeah, yeah.
there was that stigma, but in my head, I was like, that's cool because it's basically, them kind of throwing back to the front wheel drive turbo Mopars of the 80s. Like, we're going to go
Hmm.
back and we're going to get back into this scene because I think those cars were ahead of their time too. Um,
Yeah.
I always say the 80s Daytonas should have been rear wheel drive with a little 318 or a 360 V8 in them. I think that would have changed everything. But um, it's just funny throughout history. Chrysler has tried uh, to kind of pander to the import scene. They had the Dodge
Hmm.
Stealth, with the Mitsubishi
Hmm.
3000 GT, and
Turbo,
I
yeah.
don't know. It was just Mopar history has always been an interesting time, and I've had people ask me if I'm going to talk about those types of cars. I absolutely, they're Mopars to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
SRT4s, I've
I
been wanting
agree.
to do an SRT4 episode, so it's nice to have you on. But you kind of glossed over the ACR, and I think we need to tell people, because I know there's going to be some muscle car guys listening to this that are like, oh, ACR, so that's American
Hmm.
Club Racer or Racing, right?
Racing, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Racer, indeed, yeah,
now
yeah.
this edition was different from the regular SRT4 in that instead of the 17-inch wheels, it had 16-inch wheels, 16 by 7s, and it seemed like it was more tuned for American Club Racing, where you're doing road courses and autocross. From what I understand, they're a little bit lower too, but I also understand. I mean, when the ones that I've seen, I've always wondered
Hmm.
what differentiates them, and I noticed the wheels.
Hmm.
And I noticed what my favorite part, this is where I become a dork, is the seats. I think the seats in them are really friggin' cool.
Yeah, because you can put the point harness,
Yeah,
and then it's got the different suspension, the
yeah,
Tokiko
yeah.
struts, and then it's got like strut bars in it, and it's got, let's not forget, it's like an extra 30 horsepower. Like holy shit,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stage two.
yeah,
And everybody hears ACR and they think of a Viper, right?
yeah,
This is
yeah,
an
sure.
ACR Neon
Yeah,
SRT4.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think I think of this color, they only made like 56, something like that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the production is limited because I did a little bit of research when I heard you on
Mhm.
the Free Smoke podcast talking about the car
Right.
where you unveiled that you were getting that project, and I was like, I should have had her on the show earlier. I was mad.
Oh
I
yeah.
was mad. I lost out on that opportunity. So
Oh,
kudos to
you know
those
what?
guys.
There's gonna be others. I'll tell you a little at the end of the show what I've got my eye on next.
Oh, all right, all
There
right,
you go.
all
You
right.
get your own exclusive.
I like it. Um, Tell me the story about how you came across this ACR. Did you always know about the ACR? And then finally you found one. You're like, oh, I got to get this. How did that come about?
Well, there was always two. As you know, I'm all about special edition
Yeah.
rare cars, right?
Mhm.
Even like with the little cars that I have and the real ones, that's always what I'm about because I don't know, I always think like in 50 years, like people are gonna be like, oh my God, like what is that? That's still alive, or even like they're from 2003 to 2005. Even
Yeah.
people now are like, is that 34? What is that? What? A turbocharged neon? What are
Yeah.
you talking about? Like, I'm like, no, these things are real. Like,
Yeah.
what's that on the back of the car? Oh, that's a wing.
Oh, that's funny.
But but yeah, so I always was interested in like the commemorative editions or the ACRs, and they're so hard to find. And when they did pop up, they were like in really rough condition, or
Yeah.
they were, a parts car or something like that. So this one came up, and it's been a few months. But yeah, anyways, it came up, and it was in someone's garage, and it was like parked for years and years, and it was a couple, and this guy and his wife let him keep it in the garage because it had some transmission issues, and he didn't want to sell it, and he kind of held off and held off as long as he could, and then she was like, okay, this thing's got to go. you know we need the space. So
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to get it, and it's pretty much a perfect car. It's like really low kilometers, but
How many
it
kilometers are
needs
on it?
oh, I don't even know because I haven't even gone in the car for a long time.
So
I
it's
think
been
it's like 90,000
it,
kilometers.
was he the
And
original
it's
owner of this thing?
no,
Okay.
he's not the first owner of it, but
Okay.
he's had it for a long time, and it's
Yeah.
garage kept, so it's like
Okay.
really, it's not a barn find, but it's a garage find. Like it's in
but
mint
it's
condition.
but it's got a couple of transmission issues or something.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what I don't know exactly. So I'm gonna need to
Hmm.
get it taken to a shop, and then I want
Hmm.
to start doing the show and
Yeah.
really dive into because I haven't really even figured out what the issue is yet.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's probably going to need a transmission, but I'm not
Okay.
sure. So,
How did you find out about the car?
so
Were you surfing on Craigslist or something?
yeah, exactly. That's
So
that's
you're
that's where you find everything.
a Mopar hunter. I like
That's
it.
where I do my Mopar hunting. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So you haven't
Yeah.
taken possession of the car yet.
No, I've had it
Okay.
for a while.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
it's getting there. It's getting there. It's just been parked for a long time and put away. So now it's time to bring it out and start. I want to get this thing on the road.
Okay. So you had 5 SRT4s, then you
Yeah.
went down to the one red one, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're adding another one.
Yeah.
The orange blast ACR. That's cool.
That's right.
Awesome. And then you have the Super V. So you have
That's right.
you have 3 Mopars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a nice collection.
Well, thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, they're cool. And I've never understood why some of these older Mopar guys, I don't know if they're just so used to the rear wheel drive V8 American muscle cars, they just don't give the SRT4 love. And like I said, I'm just a fan of anything that Chrysler has tried to do to cater to the performance minded people like us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I like them. The problem is you can't find them. Like you're saying,
Well,
when you do,
that's just it. That's just
yeah,
it.
yeah, they're trashed. Every single one that I know of locally is trashed.
Yep.
And all the nice ones
Yep.
are obviously their owners love them and take very good care of them. I think I've seen one ACR. It's white. He took the wing off of it. But I
I
see him.
really want a stone white. Oh, love
Yeah,
that color.
it's pretty clean. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's nice. But I've seen him
What I'd
like
like,
3 times.
yeah, yeah. What I actually wanted to do originally, and I still might do it, is to get a stone white ACR, put a carbon fiber hood on it, just like my Super B, and like match them. That's kind of that was what I want to do. I'd like to
Awesome.
still do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Um,
Hmm.
do you like classic Mopars? I mean, you have to,
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. I love them. And
Yeah.
honestly, I wish I could get a matching Super Bee.
Ooh.
Um, you
Ooh.
know, but yeah, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I don't have the funds to do that. That's why I
Sure.
started working on the SRT4s because they were
Yeah.
more affordable
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
it was history I could afford.
Yeah. No,
But
I get
yeah,
it.
my dream is to have a couple, more than one old Mopar for
Nice.
sure, without a
So,
doubt.
if you could have any Mopar, these are my dorky questions. If you could have
Yeah.
any Mopar aside from
Hmm.
what you have now, because obviously the Super Bee is really special to you.
Yeah.
If you could have any Mopar, what would it be? What's your dream Mopar?
Oh man, it's kind of tough. People always ask me that, and I want so many of them. I
Me
don't
too.
know. Well, okay, so I really love the wing cars, so I think it would have to be a Super Bird.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm gonna have to
Nice.
say because I
How's it?
just love them. I love them. They're
Yeah.
huge, but I also think that like when they first came to market, people hated those cars.
Yeah.
Like they were
Yeah.
at NASCAR and people thought they were the ugliest things ever. And they're
Yeah.
like, what? The nose cone and the wing, like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? And they couldn't
Yeah.
sell them at first, right? So I don't know. I just I like cars like that. I love it.
I've said it before.
I think I,
I think I've even said it on this podcast that I would have been one of the people in 1970 that would go to a dealership and see one in the back of the lot going, that thing's for sale. Like,
yeah,
I'll take it
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the type of jerk that would drive something with a giant wing on it. Oh
yeah,
boy.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, I just love them. Like they're
Yeah.
just so cool,
I have
right?
yeah, the top of my shelf. I have it's mostly wing cars with the exception of the quarter mile
Mm.
legends, Johnny Lightnings. But I have all the wing
Oh
cars
yeah,
up
yeah,
there. And then
yeah.
a collection of Hot Wheel wing cars over here that I saw on I was on Facebook Marketplace, and like I was telling you, Facebook's algorithm
Hmm.
like thinks I'm obsessed with Hot Wheels now or something. And months
Yeah,
ago,
so they're telling you
it
everything.
was
Yeah.
yeah, it was on Thanksgiving of all days last year.
Oh wow.
My mother-in-law was over here, and we were cooking food, and of course, I was surfing the internet, and I see this guy with a lot of Hot Wheels, and
Hmm.
I'm looking, and I'm like, they're all Superbirds, and I was like,
Hmm.
$15. I was like,
Love it.
yeah. So I was like,
Sold.
I told my wife, I was
Yeah,
like, sweetie, I'm gonna leave for about a half an hour. I'm gonna go get these Hot Wheels, and I'll be back. And she's like, really? On Thanksgiving? I
yeah,
was like, yes, on Thanksgiving.
yeah,
I'm gonna go get these Hot Wheels.
yeah. Oh, well, did you put one on the pie and do the burnout with the whipped cream? Come on.
No, but I've seen that picture, and
I
I
did
thought
that.
that
I
would be
did that.
cool. That was you? Okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
there's another. I have a bone to pick with you. I need to know this because I
Okay.
hate thinking that I bit somebody's style. But right over here to my right, I have my own little coffee table in this office. When I had my '69 Dodge Dart, it had
Okay.
slotted mag wheels on the front of it, and I knew I was taking those off to put Kreger's on it. So I got the tires taken off, and I was like, these would make a sweet little tower for a coffee table. And I was like, I'll go
Hmm.
get a round piece of glass, cut a
Yeah.
couple pieces of fuel line so that it holds on there and it doesn't scratch. And I
Hmm.
created my own little coffee table. And then I see pictures on your Instagram, and I'm like, oh, so I wasn't creative, and I thought I was so
No,
cool.
no.
I thought I was so cool. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then you have an even more epic coffee table than I do. So
No,
uh,
no, I wouldn't say that. I
it's
actually
pretty
just,
sweet.
you know how it happened. It's so I didn't have a coffee table when I moved into this apartment. And so I had my stock wheels, my satin vapor rims, right? Like I didn't want to wreck them because I have aftermarket ones on them, so I wanted to keep them perfect.
Yeah.
And I had the original tires that came with the car brand new on these rims. So I had them in my living room while I was moving and stuff, and I was like, and they were just kind of like sitting, and I was like, you know what? This would make a really cool table. So I started searching it up and getting ideas. And a lot of people just had like one big piece of glass over them, like
Mhm.
square. And I was like, well, why don't I just stack all four and just do two and two and do like what you said, the circle
Yeah.
So I had a friend cut me 2 pieces of glass, and yeah, it looks so rad. I love the way it turned out. I even put a
Yeah.
little car on the center cap
Oh,
of
cool.
the rim and then put the glass on top. So yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
When did you
a
do
lot
it?
of people have done it.
I need to know
Wow,
when you did it.
no, no,
I need to know
no.
when you did it.
Well, I moved in the week before Christmas, so that's when.
All right.
That
I
would
would
be
have, I
when,
would have,
probably around,
I,
I would say January, then probably
okay.
December, January.
I don't remember when I did mine. I'd have to look on the timeline because I saw yours and I was like, oh, please tell me. Because I know that I see things on the internet. I'm like, oh, I would love to do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
I don't know where I got the idea. I know it wasn't completely original. I know that people have done this before. I was just
Yeah.
wondering because I was like, maybe I saw it
Yeah.
on Jovita's feed and that's
Well, I also
idea or
have
something.
like the desk table type thing that I'm leaning on right now is a VP barrel. And I was like, I don't know. I'd never seen it done that way. I just like had 2 stools, and a friend of mine, I always wanted a VP barrel, so it's in my living room. So I was like, oh, well, why don't I just put 2 stools in front of it? And I was like, oh, it's such a crazy bar table, right?
Oh no, it's genius. I saw that on the Free Smoke podcast, and I was on OfferUp, and I saw a guy selling the empty little VP racing things, and I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
those
yeah,
would make great little trash cans in my garage. So
yeah.
I
There
ended
you
up
go.
I ended up throwing one of them in my garage, and I sold the other ones. And then I see you
Yeah.
with this badass bar table, and I'm like, you've got these crazy ideas, and they're awesome. I
No,
gotta I
thank
gotta I
you.
gotta know. This is kind of a personal question.
Hmm.
Do you have friends that are not car people?
What there are people like that?
Oh no, do you have friends that yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know very many of them, but
um,
I have to know this because
no, not really. I'm
okay,
gonna say, I mean, yeah, there's like 1 or 2 people that
sure.
I talk to that
Yeah.
I've known from different workplaces, but most of the people that I talk to are car people.
Okay.
I just feel like, honestly, like I feel like I can't even hold a conversation unless it's about cars. Like I don't know, it's just weird.
I like
Like
it.
that's because it's like my whole life because I work with cars, even though I don't work with cars, but I work around them.
Sure.
When customers come in, I'm talking about cars, and I'm talking about cars or showing pictures to like my boss or whatever. And yeah, it's really my whole life.
Man.
Like
I
they say if you don't remember my name and you see me at a car show, just say Mopar and I'll turn around, right? So
Oh, that's funny. Um gosh. There's just so much to
well,
unpack.
there's probably so many people like because there's so many members in my group and I meet so many people um because of Mopar, and I've been
mhm.
exposed to so many different things. Like you can't remember people's names, so I remember their cars,
Yeah.
right? Like honestly, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're the guy with the modified this, and whatever,
Yeah.
right? So, but it's true, right? You see their car, and then you remember, like, oh yeah, that's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing to me, like, because there's car enthusiasts and there's car enthusiasts, and
Yeah.
it's remarkable to me because like I could understand. I see a lot because Instagram. I mean, you can go down rabbit holes of hashtags, and I've gone down rabbit holes of hashtags and run across other female enthusiasts, but
Hmm.
the level of and I don't say this to be insulting. The level of
Hmm.
obsession that you have was definitely it sparked something to me. I was like, I gotta talk to her sometime because I gotta get the story. I gotta figure this out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
just super interesting. The president of the club. That's why I was like, how'd you get into that? Because that seems like a lot of work, because for my senior project in high school, I organized a car show, and
Hmm.
it was so much work, and it was a whole crew of us figuring this out. And
Yeah.
being the president of a car club, I can't imagine, especially one as big as yours. I mean, the organization and stuff. Have you had an event where everybody tried to meet at one central location and you get as many of the 2,000 people or as many of the Canadian people to an event as
Um,
possible?
Well, we haven't had an event where people from other provinces have come to. Like we haven't
Mhm.
had like a massive event like that yet. Um it's in the works. I think it's taken a lot of years to get to where we are. A lot of our events are local. We did start 2 chapters, one on Vancouver Island and one in another province. So that's kind of that was kind of the scope that I was getting to. I wanted to have little like satellite clubs, or not satellite clubs. I guess it would be just divisions.
Okay.
So we did start 2, but the problem with that is I don't have control over that. So, you know, if there's people disobeying rules or being disrespectful or whatever, it's hard to do that. And it's hard to find people that I think can represent the club in the way that I do it here. You know what I mean? It's really hard. It's like it takes years and years to build the group and gain the respect of people. I mean, also being a woman in Mopar, and you know, like I said, I mean, I started the club with a V6, and people are, you know, people don't take you seriously or whatever. And it took a lot of years to build that and gain that respect from members.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, here we are today, a huge group, and yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, it's been the greatest experience for sure.
That's cool. So you,
and I mean, and I think it opens it up for other women too. I think there's a lot more women in Mopar now than there was before.
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely a role model. You know, I have a daughter. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I like all of the women I know in Mopars. I just like, if my daughter could grow up to be like even remotely into Mopars, I would be so happy. But obviously you can't force them. And it's just interesting to me because a lot of the women that I've talked to, it seems like their dads were heavy influences on, like their dads were Mopar guys. So it was like in their blood. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
How you evolved into Mopars. That's really cool.
Yeah. Actually, my dad and my grandpa weren't Mopar guys at all. They were into like off brands and like imports and stuff. And I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really into the cars. I would help out in that, but I wasn't really heavy into it until later on in life. So, yeah.
I still feel like we didn't get the exact moment. Like, what was the moment where you're like, I'm a car girl?
I don't know. I mean, I think it was when I had the first Charger.
Yeah.
The first Charger, it started like blooming. This idea started blooming in my head, and then when I got the black one, that picture behind me, the other way. That picture there, that's kind of when it started. It was like a seed, and it just started growing and growing and growing, and now it's like this massive tree.
Yeah, with 2,000 members all over Canada.
I know. I'm pretty proud of what I've started and what it's grown into, and it's pretty cool when I look back at how long. It's not even how long it's taken. It feels like it's only been like a year or two, and it's been like, you know, 6 years. I think it's been. So
that's a long time.
It's pretty cool, and I've just met so many cool people, and I've been exposed to so many awesome things. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely. So you started the club. You created all the rules. This is Jovita's show. She's in charge.
Yeah, you know, I never wanted it to be like a dictatorship, and I never want to tell people what to do. I'm super easygoing and relaxed, and I'm just like, you know, if you want to come out and meet people and get ideas and look at our cars and show off your car and be respectful, and it's the love of Mopar and bringing people together. So I just love to see it. I mean, there's a lot of people in the club that started off, they'd come to a meet and they're super shy, or they'd sit in their car and they wouldn't get out, and I'm super talkative and outgoing, so I'd go up to them and bring them out of their shells. And now when I see them today, it's like that's what I wanted to do, right? That was like the aim of what I was doing here, was bringing people together through Mopar, right?
Yeah, that's when you talk, I can tell that you're just super passionate about Mopars, and that's what Talking Mopars is about enthusiasts. You know, I always say that it's an enthusiast-driven podcast because, you know, when you talk to somebody that's super passionate about a subject like Mopars, you can talk for hours and hours and hours. It could be never ending. So I guess it's a good thing that there's this podcast because Mopar people love to talk about Mopars. But I'm curious, you're a really nice person from everything I've gathered. I've never met you in real life, but and you say you're easygoing. I'm curious. Have you ever had to boot somebody out of the CMC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have had a few people kind of come and go. I don't actually ever like boot somebody out and say you have to leave. I always
Mm,
kind of give them a choice. But we've had people be disrespectful, and I mean,
really?
like, okay, so burnouts and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you have a Hellcat or you have a V8, you bought it, you want to do burnouts, you want to do peel outs,
Mm-hmm.
fine, right? Like that's what a
Yeah.
lot of people buy these cars for. But there's a time and a place for it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where it becomes tricky. And I never want to be the bad guy to tell people what to do, but if you're being unsafe, like I mean, I talked about it on the Free Smoke show, how people are stunting and like closing down
Mm-hmm.
intersections and stuff. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
doing that here, but if you do that at a meet, I always have, so my events are always like
Mm-hmm.
family friendly.
Yeah.
So you can bring your kids, if it's a weekend or whatever. So that sort of thing. Like if something like that happens, it's, I always give people a chance for sure. I never like boot people.
Yeah.
And I do have admins, and sometimes I'll just be like, okay, what do you guys think? You
Mm-hmm.
guys let me know. And ultimately, like, if the person, I really don't feel like the person fits in the group, then it has to be done. But it's not like a regular thing for sure.
So CMC is heavily family oriented. It's family friendly.
Yep, for sure.
No.
And we do like a lot of community work like around Christmas time. So
Okay.
we sponsor families, and
Oh,
we
cool.
do like food bank, and we help people along the way. So
That's really
yeah.
cool. So that's definitely, I like when car clubs do positive things for the community, because anybody can get a group of jack wagons together and slap stickers on their car and go do burnouts and
Oh, for
wreck
sure, for sure.
wreck
I
reckless
always
things.
wanted, yeah, I always wanted like the giving back and to
Hmm.
humble people,
Yeah.
because that was always my thing is, instead of just donating money, I do like front fundraisers at Christmas time, like where I'll get, dealerships to give me a bunch of stuff, and we do raffles, and then I'll actually get people to come and help me buy all of the groceries for these families and all
Oh,
the
wow.
presents, and we'll wrap them, and then we go drop them off to the family.
Oh,
So
wow.
I just feel like it just, everybody needs to be humbled. Yeah, we have these
Absolutely.
big, beautiful, muscle cars that make lots of noise, and we're badass, but we have to humble people somehow. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's important, and then it brings us all together too, right?
No, absolutely. That's one thing I can say about the Mopar community. I mean, of course, you have the outliers and stuff, but it's definitely, I've never seen anything like it, and I've been into cars my whole life, and I've
Hmm.
been through the various scenes, and I see how they work. But there's something about Mopars that's just, it's different. The only thing that I don't like when club, and it's not that I hate them, and I don't like to talk bad about anybody, but I don't like when club, but I understand why they do. And so I have to preface by saying that
Hmm.
when Mopar clubs say only these types of Mopars are allowed in the club,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like that. And one
yeah.
reason why is because I feel like you're not a true Mopar enthusiast unless you're open-minded to all of them,
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I feel like a jerk every time I say that, but at the same time, you know, I know that there's a lot of people out there that have these cars and have no idea of the history. I'm sure there's somebody that drives a
Oh
Super Bee
yeah,
like yours
yeah.
that doesn't
Hmm.
even know the original Super Bee and how it even came to be. And
Yep.
I personally can't get into something like if I can't get into something without getting a little obsessed and learning as much as I can about it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
sometimes I hear these people talking, and I don't think they know anything about Mopars. And I'm like,
Oh, I
I
totally agree.
I just
Totally
don't think
agree.
that you can really call yourself a Mopar enthusiast unless you have a general. Now, you don't have to be an encyclopedia. I don't expect people to go and decode
Hmm.
fender tags and, VIN
Hmm.
tags and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you can't tell me why these cars are called scat packs, or where the
Yeah.
bee came from or things like that.
Hmm.
Then I'm like,
Hmm.
do some research. You know what I mean? I respect people a lot more for that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so true.
yeah,
So the Daytona Hellcats that they brought back
yeah,
or brought out.
yeah.
So there was a couple of them that sold, and one that sold at a dealership I was at. I asked the salesperson because I did a video on it because I just thought when they came out, the history and even like how many they produced of the year, everything had a significance.
Hmm.
It was like these little Dodge calls them Easter eggs, right? So it was like these little Easter eggs everywhere. And I was just obsessed when they came out. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to buy one and put a wing on it. Like that's how obsessed I was.
Nice.
Like, wouldn't that be so cool?
Hmm.
Um, so one of them sold, and I said to the sales guy, I was like, do you know all this? Like, do you know why there was this number produced? And, you know, the year it ran on the NASCAR Speedway and all this stuff. And he's just like, no. And so I started explaining it to the people that bought them, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. I didn't even know that. Right. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
totally get what you're saying. I get where
Mm.
you're coming from. At the same time, I told you I'm all inclusive, so I let
Yeah.
whoever wants to be in the club because not everybody can afford the cars that they want or
Tell me about
whatever.
it.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with you that a lot of people don't know what they have and don't know where they came from.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm also,
or they just buy it for the horsepower or whatever, and they're not. I know what you mean when you say like, are you really a Mopar enthusiast, right?
yeah. Yeah, because I noticed that it's kind of a trend to go get the Hellcats and stuff, and
Oh, for
I
sure,
understand
for
they're
sure.
badass cars. Of course, they're going to be
Yep,
trendy. You know what I mean?
yep,
But I
yep.
definitely can sniff out the people that are just bandwagoners, and like in 10 years it's going to be something else that's really cool, and Mustangs will be
Yeah.
so far in that people will be going and buying a bunch of Mustangs and stuff. So,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
but one thing that I noticed that I try to do is when people ask me about history of Mopars and stuff for stuff that I know, because I don't know it all. And there's so
Yeah.
much I don't know, but I love to learn. And I like to pass on the knowledge because man, once or twice a week, especially at work, because I have a big Talking Mopars podcast sticker on my truck. And, I've had a guy asked me today, what's Mopar? I always get
Hmm.
excited when they ask. And, I can always tell the people that aren't car people because I'm like, okay, well, Mopar, and because I'm a Mopar enthusiast, so I get all excited. I'm like, well, this is Mopar, and they give me blank stares, and I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, the
but then,
glaze over. Yeah.
yeah, but then you get the
Yeah.
people that they're like, so what's a Mopar? And then like, oh, do for instance, like, do you know like old Challengers and old Chargers, like back in the day, like when they first came out in the 60s and
Hmm.
70s?
Hmm.
And they're like, oh yeah, those are cool. And I'm like, well, those are considered Mopars because it is kind of confusing. If you don't know anything about Mopars, it's like, what is a Mopar? And then you go to the dealership, the Dodge dealer, and you see Mopar everywhere, and you're like, okay, what is a
Hmm.
Mopar?
Hmm.
So I get
Hmm.
it, and I relish in telling people and trying to get people into them and into the history of Mopars. But
Hmm.
there's some guys that are the old school guys that are just not receptive to people that don't know that history, and they're not willing to be open-minded
Hmm.
enough to go, oh, well, how much do you want to know? We can sit and have a
Hmm.
whole conversation about it, so
Hmm.
I feel like there are certain gaps in the community that could be definitely filled a little bit, and there could be even more community, and
Hmm.
I hope that happens. But it sounds like your club is doing all the right things. I love that you guys are open to all Mopars. That's cool. um
Hmm.
that's definitely.
Well, like I said, we have like vintage Mopars in the group,
Mhm.
like restored, unrestored. Like we have
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
everything. And one of the things that I love to do is to talk to a lot of these older guys that have all these cool stories, and they tell me about their
yeah,
cars and their collections. And I've even gotten to tour some people's collections, and these, like, some of them are just amazing. And I keep in contact with these people, and I talk to them all the time and check up on them and go
yeah,
see, what they bought or what they've done to their cars. Like that's just, to me, that's just so cool.
yeah.
Like I went to this one place I brought the club to a couple times, and it's a husband and wife, and they have this um property, and they've got a couple of barns, and from the outside you can't tell what they are. It just looks like a farm. And you walk inside, and I kid you not, it was so overwhelming. Like I had tears in my eyes. Seeing all these cars lined up, all restored inside this barn. He had like 25, 30 cars, and he had a 50s diner in there, and he had original neon signs and porcelain signs all over the barn. Like it
Wow.
was just like heaven. Like it was so cool. And to
Wow.
hear the stories and the history behind it and how he started it, it was just amazing. And that's the kind of stuff that I live for.
Nice. True to the blue, Mopar running through your
Yeah.
veins.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm trying to think. Like I said, I had a bunch of questions written down. I think we've covered. I think we covered a lot of them.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. We.
Oh, is
we
it time to tell you about my my next purchase of what I would like it to be?
Absolutely. You tell us that, and then we'll go and we'll address everybody in the comments. It looks like there was some questions, so that'll be
Okay.
fun. What do you got?
So, I'm trying to get the owner of the dealer that I work for. I'm trying to get him to sell me an SRT10 Viper truck.
Ooh.
That's what I want to get my hands on. I
Yeah.
want an 05 regular
Yeah.
cab stick.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Oh
Because I
man.
think it's going to fit so well in my collection. Because obviously
Yeah.
my thing is SRT, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just going to be so badass, and I want to get one so bad, but they're really hard to find too. So
They are.
I actually was telling a friend of mine locally, and I was telling him he's got an SRT Viper as well. He's got like one or two. So I thought.
Okay.
So I was talking to him today, and I was like, listen, there's this old 05, and my boss won't sell it to me. He says it's not for sale and this and that. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. So I started talking to him about his, and he sends me this video, and I was just floored. I just about dropped my phone. He's got like a garage full of them, and I'm not talking 3 or 4. He's got like I didn't even count. Like I lost count. I think there's like eight or nine
of the trucks
Yep.
alone.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like, wow, I need to see your collection. You need to tour me through your collection. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like all the people that I get to meet and the stuff that I get to see, it's just, oh man, it blows my mind.
Wow. Yeah.
So cool.
I love those trucks. They're awesome. Another thing that Mopar did to separate themselves from the pack. And like I was just talking about it the other day when they had the late 80s and Carroll Shelby's involvement with the Dakota and the V8 and stuff. I was like, look, before the GMC Cyclone and Typhoon, Chrysler was already building, fast trucks. I mean, Little Red Express, the fastest production vehicle in 1978. Come on. Mopar is not new to the performance truck thing. And when that SRT, when the Viper truck came out, good God.
Yeah.
that thing.
Okay, so what are they? So like in 2003, they had They had the Lightning, and they had a Silverado SS. That's all they had at the time. And then 2004, bam, Viper truck comes out.
Yeah.
Who's on top now?
I just, God, I wish I could work in. I want to be in that brainstorming circle of people like, okay, what can we do to just come up with something crazy? I wish they would just take a couple enthusiasts and just go, what do you guys think? You got your fingers on the pulse. Of course, I would say I don't care if Plymouth doesn't exist anymore. I think you need to come out with a CUDA. I don't know where it could go. I want a CUDA so bad before everything goes
electric. There's a lot of people that want to see that again.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a Mopar enthusiast on earth that doesn't say, I would love to see what they could come up with, because I don't really want it to be an iteration of the Challenger. We have the Challenger, amazing car. Amazing car. I want the CUDA to be something different all on its own.
Yeah, something different,
And I think they could do it. I just wish they would pull the trigger. I don't understand why they haven't yet. It's the one frustration. If they never bring back the CUDA, there'll always be something inside me like, God, I think they missed an opportunity. I think they're missing out. But the Viper truck, man.
Oh yeah, another fun fact about that. Did you know that it was in the Guinness Book of World Records?
For what?
For the fastest
Production truck or something?
fastest production truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Of course, now it's knocked out by what, the TRX?
Yeah. Another incident or instance where Mopar's like, all right, cool, nice Raptor, and that's I love,
Yeah.
I love,
Oh gosh,
I love the subtle
the
shots that they
graphic.
took it forward.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's. It seems like it would be such a fun company to work for. You know what I mean? They just,
Yeah.
gosh, I,
That was
you know,
actually like my dream, was to work for FCA. Now
yeah,
Stellantis, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think I was getting really close too.
yeah,
When after Springfest got canceled, yeah, my heart broke a little bit, but
yeah. Because all the big wigs go down there, right? From
yeah,
FCA. Yeah,
I had like a meeting set up with a couple of the executives over there, and there was going to be a lot of cool stuff happening at
nice.
Springfest. So hopefully next year. But we
See, and
always have SEMA this year. SEMA should be
yeah,
good.
eh, I was supposed to go last year, and that fell through. But I already have uh my plane tickets. I'm going to SEMA, and I'm going to be going to Mo Party too. Holly's Mo Party. I was
Oh,
supposed to go.
cool.
I was supposed to go to the first one, but that didn't work out because I didn't have enough time to get ready for it. But this year I have no choice because I've got plane tickets to both events, so I got to get
Oh,
there
nice.
somehow. So SEMA's
I
one I've been
actually
wanting
got
to go to forever.
I get these invites from like Dodge Garage, and I got an invite to drive a Hellcat Red Eye and a wide body Hellcat Red Eye at in Indiana, like on the 20th or something. And I'm like, oh, the borders are closed. I can't
Oh
go.
no! Oh no!
On the track too.
Oh man. Well, if you ever do land a job there, just
Hmm.
remember that I'm your friend now, and show your boy
Yeah,
some love. Come on the show
yeah,
at
yeah,
least
yeah,
and tell us
yeah,
all the
yeah.
secrets.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Oh no, that's awesome. Let's take a look and see what some people have said. It's always
Okay,
tough
for
on the
sure.
way my schedule sucks so bad. I can never, I work so late. It's like, when am I going to record? And I got a family, so it's like Friday and
Yeah,
Saturday
no, I
nights.
hear
So
ya.
I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
expect the numbers to be huge, but I love the people that show up, and the
Oh, nice.
numbers, the numbers for views and stuff will skyrocket in the next week. But it's just
Afterwards,
interesting to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
It's just interesting to see what people have to say. So we'll just go one by one. What's up,
Yeah,
Logan?
you want to read them out to me? Because I'm like pretty
Yeah.
small.
Can
Yeah,
can you
okay.
see them on the screen when I pull them up? Can you see that?
I can, but they're like, yeah, pretty small.
Okay,
But yeah,
I'll read them.
hey, Chris. Yeah.
Ed says, "Happy Friday, happy Friday, Ed." Ronson, what's cooking? Nothing right now, but I'm kind of I'm kind of hungry. Tim, that's my buddy from work. I was training him today. Tim, what's
Oh,
up,
nice.
buddy? Thanks for showing up. Phil, what's up? William won the Mr. Norm poster from the giveaway that I do for subscribers. William,
Oh, cool.
I have all the stuff ready to ship right now. I want to go tomorrow. I got off work a little bit later than I expected, so I had to get ready to meet with Joe Vita, and I didn't get to the post office, but I will get there soon. I think we already answered that, Richard. She doesn't have one car. She's got many, and she may have a Viper truck. If you get that truck, I might have to come up to Canada. I've
Cool.
never ridden in one. I want to ride in one so bad. Tyler says, "Hey, Chris, what's up, dude?" Matt, Mopar, no car. Correct. Richard, here's a question for CMC. How has COVID helped or hurt the CMC?
It's hurt CMC for
Yeah.
sure. The last event we did, I think, was in August of last year. So we have not had a meet or anything of that nature since last summer. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been kind of hard. I've been trying to figure out ways, as a group, we've been trying to figure out what we can do to keep people together, keep people engaged. Everybody's just kind of getting antsy right now. I think we're gonna have to do some sort of like Facebook group meeting, like live type of thing, and get people in there, and or do some sort of like online car show or something, because we still can't do events here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can, but the numbers are so small that if I get 50 people show up or 30 people show up, the liability is going to be on me. So I got to be careful with that. So
That is insane.
Hopefully soon.
I remember you talking on because I listened to the podcast you did with the Free Smoke gentleman, and you were talking about some of the restrictions in Canada, and I was like, oh my God, that's insane that you would be liable for organizing a car show to get some people together and have a good time and talk cars. That's insane.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I think we're only allowed to have like 10 people at an organized meeting.
Wow.
And you have to be socially distanced, and so.
Well, if you ever
guarantee.
Yeah, if you ever want to organize some sort of a live, I can get 10 people on here and we could just do a rotation because I would love to talk to some members of your club and say, hey,
cool.
I had the president on. She seems really nice, but tell me, is she a dictator or what? We're gonna get to the bottom of this. No, I hope things get better for everybody and we can get this car show season back on track because I really don't want it to be like last year because I make some side cash selling framed vintage ads and there haven't been any swap meets, so I'm losing out on that little bit of extra money to help fund my projects, so that kind of sucks. But hopefully this year will get better. I just didn't realize that Canada was so strict, but it makes sense.
Yeah, we are.
Hi from Cedro. What's up, Kirk? So yes, Richard, Americans can join the Canadian Mopar Club.
Yeah.
They're welcoming to everybody. Shane says hi. What's up? What's up, Shane?
Oh, Shane.
Ramblers.
Yeah,
Do you guys?
Washington too.
Awesome. Do you recognize AMCs and Ramblers in your Mopar Club?
I do. We don't have any. We don't have
really?
any.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any in the club. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, awesome. Mike Baker says nothing. Cool. Thanks for your contribution, Mike. My buddy Bud Mack, he says, I worked at a Cadillac dealership in the mid 2000s and a kid called from inside of an LXR, the Cadillac's Corvette, because he couldn't figure out how to get out. Okay, that's fine. Oh, man. That's one of those more money than brains things. Yeah. I get it with the Tesla because there's technology's a little crazy these days. Roy Wheeler says most of the Mopar dealerships around here, the employees don't even know what an old school Mopar is. Kind of pisses me off. I totally get it. And that's why I think people like Jovita, I've even thought that I would love to sell cars, but I think I would oversell them because I'm so passionate about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd probably get someone to go, hey, just shut up. I just need a van or I just need a V6 Charger. So I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
Jason speaks and says nothing. Creative. that is ironic right there. That is the definition of ironic. Roy Wheeler says I had a 360 on engine stand in my kitchen when I was in my 20s. LOL. Roy, Jovita, do you have an engine in your? Do you have a Hemi somewhere in your kitchen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I do have a hood in my living room, but that's about it.
On the other side of this door. Hold on. You really can't see it. There's a fiberglass 6-pack hood from a Dodge Dart out there because I don't have any room in my garage because of this big ass van that's in it. But yeah, car stuff, car parts and stuff in homes are fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I could get away with hanging a hood or having a cool coffee table downstairs. My wife is pretty cool, but I think that she'll draw the line somewhere.
She'll draw the line, yeah.
Yeah. Roy says 2009 Challenger RT with SRT hood and 2019 Hellcat front bumper. This must be his collection. He's got a 73 Yuko Charger, cool. 73 Roadrunner, cool. 75 Duster, that was a Chrysler executive lease car. That's cool. A 70 Duster with a 440 stroker, 493 cubic inches. With a 4-speed, big block A bodies, winning, and the wife has a 2008 Charger RT. Roy, you sound like a cool guy. I think we could hang out. Roy goes on to say, I have strangers stop to talk to me about Mopars because I have the 73 parked out front, and that can turn into hour-long conversations and a personal car show. That's awesome, and it's cool that you're open to that kind of stuff because I have run across the Mopar guys where you're like, oh, cool car, and they're jerks about it. I hate that.
Oh,
I hate that.
I get, people talk to me like when I was in Walmart today, like looking for die casts. I actually had, because I was wearing a Mopar shirt with all my badges on it. And as soon as I walked in, the guy's like, there's no Mopar here, so don't bother. And he's a Mopar guy. And we just started talking. And I'm like, And I look at the time and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go. But like we ended up exchanging numbers and we're like just talking Mopars the whole time. It's hilarious.
That's awesome. Speaking of
So cool.
that shirt with all the patches you have, that thing
Yeah.
is so cool. The first time I
Oh,
saw
thanks.
you in that thing, I think it was some pictures from SEMA. I was like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
thing
I've got
is
a couple of
so
them
rad.
actually.
So
Yeah,
rad.
actually, I made it. I made it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I have down here during the swap meets, there's a guy who has mechanics jackets, and he's like screen printed like Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth on the back of them, and he's got a Mopar patch on the front. So I have one of these jackets, and I've always wanted to patch it up. I just never gotten around to it. And then
Oh yeah,
I
that'd be
saw your
cool.
shirt, and I was like, oh, that's so sick. I love it. It's cool.
Yeah, I make like even this one, I put this patch on it from SEMA and it's
Oh,
got like
cool.
the screen printed
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mopar, or it's not Mopar actually, it's just a screen printed hot rod from SEMA that I got. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
I actually want to get one of those old school vintage. It's kind of like the satin bomber jackets, and it says like Dodge girls have more fun.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you seen that? So I wanted to get one of those. They have like the Dodge boys have more fun too. But I wanted to get one of those and put some patches on it. So yeah,
There
that's thinking about that too.
I'm always hunting on eBay for old
Hmm.
nostalgic apparel.
Me too.
And I'm a little too big for large, so I have to settle for extra large stuff. But they had
Yeah.
a killer, and this annoys me a little bit when people post things on eBay and say, "Oh, this is vintage," but it's really not vintage. They just ironed something on. I don't mind
Yeah.
that, but don't
Yeah.
claim it's vintage because I saw this amazing direct connection jacket and I was like, "Oh, it said
Oh,
direct connection
cool.
race team on it."
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "Please be an extra large, please." And it was like a large or a medium and I was like, "Oh." And then it said in the description it made it sound like they ironed it on and I was like, "Oh, well, you said it was vintage. Come on."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I know, I feel. I'm really
yeah.
picky about the clothes too, though. It's like it's got to
Hmm.
be just right, and if I can't find it, then I'm starting to like make it myself now because it's like I want a certain to look a
That's
certain
cool.
way. Yeah.
Start doing customs. I'll have you I'll pay you to make one for me. That's how
Oh,
cool that was. I was like, "Oh, that's
that's
rad."
cool. Oh, thanks.
There's probably some money in that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's actually a guy in Ontario, I think it is, and he gets the vintage jackets. I don't know how he gets them, but he's got like hundreds of them.
Really?
And then you can add the patches in that, but it gets pretty pricey. Like it'll probably
Oh,
be like,
sure.
you know, $2, $3, $500 by the time you're done. So
That's cool though.
yeah.
I like that kind of old stuff. I like the throwback stuff.
Hmm.
Paul says, "Hey Chris, how you doing, Killer? Doing pretty good, dude. How's the dart coming along, buddy?" Roy Wheeler says Sherman tank, B-29 bomber, 18 cylinder Hemi. Yes. I think I had a series of episodes where I was talking about the history of the Hemi, and
Hmm.
I had heard that they got the idea from planes, from warplanes and fighter planes for the Hemi, and how efficient the hemispherical cylinder heads were. It was super crazy. There's so much information when you start digging into
Yeah, I've
certain
actually been
subjects.
thinking about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, when you start digging into certain subjects in the history of Mopar, it's like rabbit hole city. And there's so many like little caveats. It's really fun. And that's why I've always been excited about this podcast because there's never going to be a shortage of anything or anyone to talk
Oh,
to.
for sure. Hmm.
Mopar, Mopar, Mo Party Bound. Dang it. Mo Party Bound, my man Sema as well. Yes, that's my buddy Matt Monroe from Big Blocks Garage. He
Oh,
hosts
okay.
the Mad Fro Monroe on Big Blocks Garage podcast. Another fun, not Mopar centric, but car person centric podcast. Love you too, buddy. Did I say I love you? I do love you, Matt. John says, I've been listening to the podcast on Spotify. Thank you, sir. Just found it about a month ago. Keep up the good work. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
One of my friends, Randy, he put a message on there and he's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna be on Talking Mopars. It's one of my favorite shows. I can't believe it." And I know him through the diecast world, so it's kind
Oh,
of neat
really?
that the
Yeah.
two have come together.
Randy Tamara, is that his name?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool guy. I like that guy a lot. Dave
he's
Dave Barnfield. Cool last name. That's like something actually at Barnfield. That's cool. Great show tonight. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you joining us. Roy again. He says she needs the old school Super B jacket in orange. There, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I would love to get an old school Super B jacket for sure. That's why I put Super B patches on my other shirts because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just like nothing. I haven't found anything.
It must annoy you when people that are not car people, they probably see you and they see you decked out in your car stuff. Do you ever have anybody like ask you about it and they're clearly not car people and you're just like so annoyed that they're even questioning you about your style?
Not really. I've had a few people like that don't know and they'll be like, "Oh, I like your jacket or your shirt." But not really. I've never had anybody like outright like a Mopar person be like, "Oh my God, that's so cool."
Yeah.
But most people are like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." But
Yeah.
no, I haven't had anybody like ask me specifically about it.
I gotta ask you, I always see you in a different snapback. Do you collect snapbacks or what?
Yeah, I don't have that many,
Oh,
honestly,
okay.
but yeah, I love them. And then every time I go to like a different car show or whatever, I usually get one like from SEMA or like, like Lordco Parts Show or something like that. Different vendors give them to me, or I just buy ones that I really like. So yeah.
That's cool. Awesome. Roy back again says Wright brothers. I know they are they the first to fly? I think. I don't know why we're talking about the Wright brothers. I'm trying to figure out what the connection is, buddy. But I
Oh,
know.
he's talking about the Hemi thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm pretty sure the Wright brothers are the first people to fly. I could be wrong. But that sounds familiar. I should know that kind of history. Matt from Big Blocks Garage said, "Man, I jump on, but literally just got home from recording an episode. Great listening to you guys on the drive home. Great stuff." Thanks, buddy. Roy Wheeler, Hemi. Yeah. Hemi. I like your style, Roy. Well, Jovita, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. You're more than welcome to come back anytime and talk Mopars with me. Bring some friends.
Awesome.
This is an open forum. I would open the door to anybody to come on the show and just talk Mopars. Even the audience. I usually will drop the link and say, hey, if anybody's got a phone or headphones and they want to jump on, they can. And we've had some really fun conversations with people. So if you ever see me go live, sometimes I do them by myself and it can get a little bit lonely. So I always throw the invitation out to everybody like, hey, just jump on and talk to me, Yeah. Because I've been trying to do the solo episodes live, but the problem is I'm not that good yet to do my normal episodes. I usually have the ability to edit and do all that kind of stuff. So
I do, yeah.
It's live is a whole different animal, but I like having somebody to talk to because it helps the conversation go. But I appreciate you coming on. Everybody, go check out the Canadian Mopar Club. Join the group. Jovita, go ahead and promote all your social media, your YouTubes, and anything else that you'd like people to know about.
Oh, thank you. On Instagram and YouTube, I am just SRT Jovita, all one word. Yeah, I mean, if you like what you heard here and you want to see some more, so check out my YouTube and Instagram. I usually post my daily vehicles, stuff from the dealership, whatever I'm doing, my diecast stuff. I do have a page on Instagram called SRT Jovita's Diecast. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. That's actually where I found out that you were really into diecast. I was like, she's got a diecast page? I was like, geez. So super cool. Thanks again for coming on. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime. I'm sure we'll talk again. Hopefully not in the too far in the future. Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. That was Talking Mopars Direct Connections. This is my new friend Jovita. I hope you guys had a good time, and we will see you next time. No Mopar left behind.
Mopar, no car.
There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars Direct Connections Live is in the books. For everything you need to know about this podcast, please visit talkingmopars.com and support the show. You can become a subscriber on Facebook. You can go buy some merch from the Talking Mopars merch shop on the website, or you can just listen and spread the word. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, or anything else on your Mopar addicted mind, you can reach me by emailing chris@talkingmopars.com or by leaving me a voice message on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and I will play it on the show. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars, Direct Connections, live.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.